let's get into this, man. I'm going to
Sure.
do a little introduction. Just 5, 2, 1, and we're rolling. Hello, everybody. This is Inaiah Lujan. Welcome to Cast the Line Podcast. I'm sitting here with my good friend who is a comedian, graphic designer, fellow podcaster.
Yeah.
Mr. Wade Ridley. Welcome
Hi.
to the show.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man.
I tried to deepen my voice there because I feel like I have to keep up with your beauty.
Oh my
like
gosh.
Because I'm older than you. So,
yeah,
you know.
just a little background on me and Wade. Wade introduced me to the magic of podcasting about 6 years ago in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Wade was just kind of a major player and just kind of a crossroads in my life. It was 2014. I was horribly depressed. I had a band that was kind of slowly breaking up. I had a relationship on the rocks, and Wade Ridley and I met through the comedy scene here in Pueblo.
We did, yeah.
That's right. I walked into the downtown bar and walked into some energy that I hadn't felt in a long time. Not since the punk rock scene here in Pueblo. I walked into the downtown bar and it was full of people.
100, yeah.
And here's Wade Ridley hosting, and just like he's basically got the entire audience very focused. And I was just blown away. I just knew I had to meet him, and I did. And I tried my hand at a comedy career.
You did great.
Oh my gosh.
You did great. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we cuss on this? Or
Okay,
cool.
You're,
I'm so sorry.
No, man, you're great. Yeah, this is we're not censoring anything on this show. But I just I'm so happy to have you, Wade. It just seems appropriate that you'd be my first guest because
I'm honored.
Yeah, just and then just to mention, his podcast at the time, at least, was 719 The Block's podcast, and I was I kind of became a regular on that show.
You were a regular on that show,
and anytime these guys were taping, sometimes I'd just hit them up and say, "You guys taping right now?" Because it was a form of therapy for me. I would go and hang out with these guys, and we would get super high and we would talk.
Yeah, and that was the point of that podcast. That was a very loose form podcast and whatnot. So, just to get you in for your experience in life, you have a different and unique vision no matter what the subject. So whatever that was, because at the time, a lot of that had to do with like men dealing with their emotions in a positive aspect. Like, how do you handle just trolls without violence? How do you handle being the subject? Like, you're a performer, you're on stage. People love to hate performers on stage sometimes. Like, how do you deal with that? And then how do men deal with emotions positively? And then we would add the community stuff into that as well.
That's amazing. I am running into some technical difficulties here, actually, so we might have to start this over again.
I'm so happy this is happening to you. I'm just saying. Not like a mean way. I'm just happy that it's not just me.
Oh, no, we're good. We're
like
good.
my first 5 podcasts on the movie one.
Yeah,
just
you know what I mean?
rolling my eyes.
This is the first time I'm giving myself some grace for sure. I'm a Virgo to the T. I always want things to be completely perfect. I want my first attempt at everything to be the best.
Yeah, right.
So I'm learning how to be better about that. So I'm not going to start this podcast over, even though in my heart I want it to be fucking perfect.
I think that's part of the process, though. Like, well, especially my creative process, I'm always in the very first part of like whatever this first one is, I'm putting it out there. So 719 The Block's podcast did not start traditionally as a podcast. I would record on a pretty horrible audio recording system, and then I would upload it to YouTube, and then I would promote the YouTube video.
Right.
And the amount of mistakes that were made from that point in time to today is just insane.
No, and that's actually, you make a good point, because that, to me, that's the appeal of podcasts, is it's not edited. It's not radio.
Correct.
We're not pre-taping. Well, we are pre-taping in a sense, but it is a live
I don't want to say
experience.
organic because I hate that word, but it absolutely is. It absolutely is, especially if you have good conversation, good topic, what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Good, going all the way through it.
So you rung a bell there. This is a show about creative process. And my intention with the show was to bring on guests and kind of figure out what makes them tick as far as creative process goes, and also with the emphasis on creative wellness. And this is something that I've kind of, I don't know that I invented or came up with.
It's an interesting terminology.
But it's something that's
sure.
just been swimming around in my head for quite a while, because I think about my creativity and how it's basically been manic and unstructured most of my life. And now as an aging artist, musician, producer, I'm honing that in and learning that, balancing
Yeah, you're LeBron James learning the 3-point shot.
There you go.
Yeah, you're not dunking anymore.
I'm I'm balancing my physical, mental, spiritual, and like my diet and stuff, and then my creativity is really going through the roof. So really, that's what this show is about, is diving deep and exploring that. But I also want to just since this is a long format, I want to jump into kind of like, who is Wade Ridley?
Oh, right. Well, that's a paradigm in itself. I describe myself as a professional vagabond until right now, where I just for the first time in literally decades decided to buy a house, settle down, create roots somewhere.
Yeah.
Which is very different for me because a part of my creative wellness, it seems, is absolute chaos at all times.
And sometimes it is, and that's absolutely fine. Were you born in Colorado?
I was born in Denver. I'm adopted, and so I'm adopted. I have a brother, Big Dave Ridley, for those people who don't know him. Me and him have the same mom, different dads. We were adopted by the same family, and it's like a 1 in 250,000 case, especially coming back to 1970.
And is he your biological brother?
He is my biological half-brother.
Half-brother, wow.
And recently reconnected with my biological mother, I want to say 18 months ago. I have a podcast that's going to be recording on that. It's crazy.
What was that like?
It was cool, man. It was really cool just to find that history.
Sure.
And then, I hate to sound so cynical about this, but there's part of you that's like, okay, I'm going to meet my biological parents. I sort of have two scratch tickets
what that
here.
would be like.
I got a couple of scratch tickets here. Biological mom, biological dad. And I'm going to scratch this fucking scratch ticket. And I'm going to hope there's going to be 3 matching gold bags, and it's going to be like this. Everything's going to get fixed. But, you meet your biological mother. You realize that the situation that they were in, you learn a little bit more truth. You learn a little bit about more of your personal health. And the story starts to complete.
Sure.
And I think if I was 20 years younger, I might have a lot of emotion about it. But now at 40, or at least past 40, this is life. And for her, at 15, and that's how old she was when she got pregnant with me.
Wow.
That life for her and me being together, it would not have happened. If I think I had life bad now with her, it could have been worse. And she has made that clear. She's like, it would not have worked well if you had stayed with me.
So she went through with the pregnancy.
Correct.
And
then she got pregnant again, and she put us both up for adoption.
So are you older? Are you older?
Yeah, by a year. Dave's she turned around and immediately got pregnant with another man.
Wow.
And then she had to put us up for adoption because she didn't feel like she could take care of kids. And then after she had Dave, she got married to another guy and then took care of his kids and regretted giving us up for adoption. She had actually tried to get me back from the foster home.
And had you had contact with her at this point?
I was under 2 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was adopted when I was 2. Dave was
this.
adopted when he was born. Dave was right out of the womb born. She she had to disconnect from Dave right away. She tried to get me back because after she put me in the foster home, after the first week when she came to visit me, she saw that I had some bruises, and she tried to get me out of the foster home.
Wow.
And they had said, too late. We're putting him up for adoption.
So how old were you when your brother and yourself were adopted?
I was 2. Dave was a day old. He was adopted before.
Oh, that's what you were saying.
And then our parents here in Pueblo, they told us from the get. They're like, you guys are adopted, and I think they probably had to because I'm very different looking than the rest of my family. Dave looks like my parents. He looks like he'd be genetically the birth child of.
And is this? Would you say the majority of your appearance comes from your father's side, or
it would have to?
Okay.
And I can only say that because I'm the only brown person in my family, and my father's Jordanian, or at least that's what I know of him, is that he's of Arab descent.
And how do you find that out?
I found that out because I went to the adoption agency, Colorado Christian Services. I don't even think it's around anymore. At least it's not in the manifestation that it was when I was adopted. When I was in my 20s. and I tried to get all this information. Well, there's a lot of red tape in the state of Colorado if you're an adoptee trying to find out about your biological parents. They don't want you just popping up on a Facebook message being like, hey, guys, I think I might be your biological father or mother, which is exactly what happened anyway. Like, my biological mom got at me on Facebook. She's like, I think I'm your mom.
Wow.
But we had already known, or I had suspected that this.
And does she live in Colorado?
She lives in Arkansas.
Okay.
But after meeting her, I found out that I have one brother and two sisters. One of those brothers lives in Arkansas. One sister lives in Denver, and the other sister lives in Las Vegas. I actually lived in Las Vegas at the same time that my sister did.
Wow.
But
and have you had contact with these other half siblings?
My half sibling Michael in Arkansas, met and talked with him. Great kid, man. And he's actually the reason why I found out I might have like a kidney disease, renal tubular acidosis.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It really is. Like, we both have the same. I was very, very small growing up. I was 4 foot. I'm 6'3", 190 pounds. I look tall and big. Like, that's
some
life.
Michael Jordan shit.
It really
there.
is. So when I was a junior in high school, I was 5'1". When I was a freshman, I was 4 foot.
No
11.
way.
And then when I was a senior, I shot from 5'2" to 6'1". And I still weighed 70 pounds. Like, it was an orange on a toothpick thing. Went to the Army, grew 2 more inches to 6'3", and then gained 50
Is this
pounds.
a survival thing?
I know, right?
Let's break down the psychology of that
they
real
say
quick.
smart people do that.
How does one...
Well, so, and especially once I found out about my biological parents, like, my biological mom is 5'2" and 120 pounds. My biological dad is 5'3", 5'4", and 130 pounds. Like, these are small people. And my biological mom says it has to come from her brothers, who are all over 6'3" and stuff like that. My biological brother Michael is 6'1" easily, so I could see that coming from her side of the family.
Okay,
that the height anyway. The brain and the skin tone and whatnot, though, that is all have to be like my biological father. Even though I don't know who he is, I do have a suspicion of who he is, and
right.
The reason that exists is because when I was like 24 years old, before I moved to Las Vegas, I get a manila envelope with no return address at my house.
Whoa.
And there's only one piece of paper in it, and it has been redacted. Everything in it's redacted, but not enough. So you can hold it up to light and read everything that's on this redacted piece of paper. And it's all of my biological dad's information. It's his name. It's his last place of like residency.
And do you think this came from your biological mother, or where do you think this came from?
There's only 2 options I really have, or only one. I think someone within the Colorado Christian Services might have done something, because I was pleading a case for like, this is crazy. You guys can't give me my information that I'm entitled to. So I think someone there may have like said I could at least send this and give this kid a chance. So from that piece of paper, the internet hunt began. And there's literally only one person with the name Hussein Ahmari that is on the internet. And that person was fitting all of the criteria that existed.
Sure.
He is a PhD in algorithms, computer algorithms, PhD in computer algorithms from Stanford. And he owns a couple of patents that apparently him and his buddies created the computer code that makes a computer talk in English to Arabic and then translate from Arabic to English that computer code. So him and his friends created that computer code and sold it to the Jordanian government or something like that back in the 80s. Or 90s. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he lives in California.
I mean, even if this isn't the guy.
I know, right? This is what a story. What a journey, right? What a journey.
Story.
So he has sons that I could be like, I think maybe I might look like this kid. And he has a wife who fits the criteria, because him and my biological mother were like just a summer fling. And he was engaged, I think, at the time to his wife to get a green card or something like that. And then they fell in love, got married, had 3 kids of their own. And then my biological mom bailed from Cali and came back to Colorado to live with her mom, who then wanted to adopt me. Her mom wanted to adopt me so that her boyfriend could have a son, because her boyfriend had just had a miscarriage with his ex-wife. and was in a bout of depression. So she thought she could fix it by providing him a son, which would have been her grandchild. And so my biological mom is like, I'm out. No, I'm putting this kid up for adoption because, lady, you're crazy and your boyfriend is crazy. So, and I'm 15.
Wow.
So there's nothing I could do.
And this is, what's the year?
79.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. I was born in April 78. So this would have been in like.
So you're born April 78. You're put up for adoption when you're 2.
Correct.
I mean, you're put up for adoption you're adopted when you're 2.
Correct. I lived in a barn in Hugo, Colorado for a little over a year.
Wow.
Which is East Colorado.
And you get adopted and your parents currently, they live in Pueblo? Were they living in Pueblo at the time?
My dad is or was a steel worker. He has more seniority than any other person out at CF&I. He worked there for 46 years in the tube mill. And then my mom was like a housewife, basically.
So what's childhood like? I mean, are like you get enrolled in school? What's your...
I mean, I really don't. This was even to today. I think my concept of family is warped.
Sure,
like it doesn't really exist in the normal. I guess you could say plane of existence.
Well, what was your refuge? What was the world that you kind of created that felt like a sense of safety?
Sure, that would be my room, and that room was surrounded by encyclopedias. There was no real cable television back then when I was coming up. There was no internet or anything like that, so I had Nintendo, and I had the Disney Encyclopedia series and the Time Life Encyclopedia series on like Greek mythology and ancient Roman mythology.
Wow. And you're diving into this stuff?
All of it.
I mean,
all of it.
And this is
Encyclopedia Britannica's art.
And you're interested in this
Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely. Well, and it's very apparent that my interests are different than my family's interests, like as a whole.
So you're staying in your room, you're reading encyclopedias, playing some Nintendo.
That's it, man. I try to be as active as possible because Dave ends up being an athlete, like up until he's 18. Like he's scouted.
What's his sport?
Football. And
yeah,
he's
scouted,
scouted, doesn't it though? And he's scouted by the University of Nebraska in 8th grade. Like Dave was that much of a stud.
Wow. What was his? What did he play?
He played everything. He was offensive line, defensive line. He was the kicker, the punter, field goal, everything.
Whoa.
He never came off the field.
Yeah.
And they wanted him to be a stud to go on.
Sure.
And do.
And he played for what school?
He played for Roncalli and Central.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Central High. He played with Marvin Brown in Central High. Like.
Okay, so you got a. I'm starting to see a picture here.
You do, right?
You're adopted.
And you know Dave, too.
You're adopted. Yeah, absolutely. You know, you got the brother who's the all-star.
Yeah, and for me, I
guy.
was the artist. So, and within that, you're talking about a period of time where a steel worker does not know what to do with an artistic child. You know what I was like this world doesn't exist.
And we're talking about a blue collar.
Correct. Blue collar, 20-year military veteran. Like this man is looking at a kid who's trying to talk to him about, Chagall. And I'm trying to talk to him about
you're hitting him with some esoteric
everything. I'm like
stuff.
He started tripping out because very religious, and I started ordering every like religious bibliography. Send me the Book of Mormon, send me Siddhartha, and when my dad sees the Church of Latter-day Saints coming around, he's like, "What are you doing? You're bringing the devil into this house."
What is his religion?
Church of Christ. My grandfather built Broadway and Ormond Church of Christ, which is now the Agape Fellowship. It's catty corner from Central High School.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
My grandfather built that church.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
My father was a worship leader there, like all the way up until I was 16, and we bounced to go.
And you're talking about the original location,
correct.
Not the new one.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So we left when I was like 16. Went to an even more like ultra right wing conservative Christian church, 29th and High, on the corner of 29th and High, where my parents went for a number of years, and then they also handed out care and share food packages.
So where do you find your niche? I mean, so you're into reading encyclopedias. You're accumulating a lot of knowledge.
Not only that, I become an actor like in 7th grade, and I'm not talking just like.
How old are you even in 7th grade? 12?
Yeah, if that.
11, 12?
But you could tell, man. You could tell Santa's Workshop. Elitch's used to have a Santa's Workshop, and my parents took me there, and I actually got called up on stage by like the magician or something. And
you had your moment.
I did, and I put my arms out big, and everybody laughed and everything like that.
Oh my gosh, how old are you when this happened?
I might have been 10. maybe
So this
10.
is a moment.
It is, and I remember it clearly still. So I mean, like I was like, oh, that's a moment where as a stage performer, I'm like, I want to repeat this.
You had that feeling though. You
Correct.
got that spark.
Correct.
Oh my gosh.
And then I was in choir all my life. So for those of you that don't know, Church of Christ is very specific. It's a New Testament church, but their one rule is use your voice. They don't believe in instruments in church. They only want you to use your voice. So me and Dave became awesome at choir, all state, all city, multiple years.
Singers.
Correct.
Wow.
But church singers and not revivalists or anything like that.
but-
We are your traditional church singers. Like there's not one like church hymn I don't know by heart and specific part to it, like the tenor and whatnot. So I go from there, and in 7th grade, I auditioned for the little kid, Bob Cratchit's kid in A Christmas Carol.
Oh, okay.
For the Impossible Players. I'm in like 7th grade, and I don't get the part because I'm not small enough, which is hilarious. But they said you're too talented, so we're going to create a part and a solo for you.
They wrote a part
And a solo
into the
for
play.
me. Yeah,
Oh
into
my
the play
gosh.
for me. So
this is looking promising. I mean,
it is, and then in
you're
9th grade, it someone notices me in a choir song that's in the drama class. His name is Jeff Tucker. He's awesome as shit, and he says, "Hey, you have stage presence. Have you thought of acting?" And from 9th grade till my senior year in high school, there was not one play that I wasn't in, basically. And I loved it. I actually loved it so much that I got scholarships for it. I got scholarships for it because someone saw me perform a life cycle, which is an acting routine where you act like you're a young man. You go all the way up until you're old and die, basically. You don't say a word. It's like miming. Saw me do a life cycle. He says, we need to get you somewhere. So he put me up for, he's like, I'm going to get you an audition to play the understudy to Raoul in Phantom of the Opera for Denver National Performing Arts Center. And you will be an understudy for that part for a year. You're not going to make any money. And then after the year, you'll audition in front of Andrew Lloyd Webber because he still has to approve all parts for Phantom of the Opera if it's touring.
And this is incredible. I mean, like you must have felt like you're on such a ride.
Well, to an extent, because this all happened the day after I signed up for the Army. So I had already signed this contract, and this guy's like, "Here you go." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man? I can't do any of this."
Wow. Okay. So where does the instinct to join the Army come from?
My boy Jericho joined and then was going to become a deserter because he didn't want to go. And if you don't know what happens once you become a deserter to the military, you don't really have a future, career-wise, anything. They will put you in jail. They'll fine you. Nobody wants to hire you after that because
that's a blemish.
Yeah, it really is.
That's a blemish on the
So
resume.
I said, "What can I do to help?" And he said, "Join with me." And I said, "Fuck it." Joined with him.
Wow.
And
this is a homie from high school?
correct. Yeah, we were on a swim
further
team.
back?
Yeah. No, high school for
Just
sure.
high school.
Yeah, high school.
And is he an actor? Is he?
No, man, we were on the swim team together.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's how you know each other.
And we hung out all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I was that was one of my questions. Is like, what was your social scene like? What was your friend circle like?
So we were the anti-cool kids. Like by the time I was a senior, we did everything we could to publicly humiliate cool people. I'm talking about getting into any of the events that were put on. If I can get on a microphone, I was going to just start ratting out popular kids, and that's what I did. And people loved us for it.
Sure.
So I don't know what I was definitely a hated person by popular people in high school. And then when I go on to where they see me now, they're like, "You were a fucking geek in high school." Yeah, I was in speech and debate. I was 4'11". I was in choir. I was in drama. I have academic letter. Like I've got 5 different letters on the letter jacket. And that's all because I didn't have a plan. I'll try anything twice to make sure I hate it.
Yeah, plans aren't something that really happen at that age.
No. Well, and there's some people that are.
And if they do, yeah, you're kind of like you're in a very small percentage.
My boy, Dr. Tony Knowlton, right? He's a dentist here in town. He's about ready to open his own office on Union Avenue. Go check him out, right? When he was in 7th grade or something like that, he sees this guy that comes in. He talks to him for 10 minutes. He makes all this money and then leaves. He's like, "Mom, what's that dude do?" Mom's like, "That's a dentist." He's like, "I'm going to be a dentist." And he knew that from 7th grade on. And that's what
Yeah.
like I wish I knew that. When
I always knew I was going to be a musician. I just didn't realize that equated to being broke.
I thought I was going to be a forensic anthropologist when I was 16.
Wow, that's interesting.
I wanted to do crime scene investigation.
Sure.
And then
Because why not?
Yeah, and then I met a man, my choir teacher, my senior year, Mr. Oliveri, who I know a lot of people here in town know, Mr. O. He was my choir teacher, changed my whole life, especially towards an artistic expression as opposed to just school is school, and you got to be good at school, and then you got to go on to school.
Right.
And he's like, you're an artist, man. Be an artist. You know?
So what's the reaction from friends, from family when you sign up for the military?
No one believes it because pretty boys don't join the army. Skinny pretty boys don't join.
Right.
They don't.
And have you hit your growth spurt at this point? Are you still?
I'm in it. I'm 6'1" when I join, and I come back 6'3". So I join. I go in at 6'1", 120 pounds. I come out 6'3", 185 pounds.
So you're 18 years old at this point?
19.
You're 19
to 20.
You join the military. What does that look like?
This is where I go on to meet one of the most influential people that will become a part of my life. And you talk about another artist in a totally different genre. His name's Franco Terry. Franco Terry is a playwright in Denver now. We met in basic training 20 plus years ago.
Where's basic training?
Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Oh my
We were in
gosh.
Fort Jackson, South Carolina. We bonded together. He ended up.
What time of year is this?
This is in fucking July, bud.
Oh.
And I go from Fort Jackson, South Carolina to Biloxi, Mississippi after that. I've never sweat so much in my fucking life. Frank, however, ends up getting stationed at Fort Carson. And from that point in time, he'll go on to sleep on my parents' couch for like the next 3 or 4 years. We'll live together after that. And then he moves up to Denver, and he is like one of the country's leading writers when it comes to wind energy. Like, he takes what the scientists say and makes it English for the rest of us to
So
understand.
you guys meet in basic training.
Correct.
And you just
And now he's a playwright that's getting major props. Like, Denver put him up for one of their awards. He's gotten a bunch of offers now. He's great, man.
how does this meeting influence you?
So Frank would end up. Well, Frank's a poet, and I'm a poet at the time as well. I wrote a lot of poetry for a lot of different girls. That was my big thing, you know. But Frank was an.
Was that your in with the women?
I'm not going to reveal my sources, but Frank is a real poet, to be sure. Like Frank's writing poetry of heartache and whatnot, and we connect on that level. We connect on a music level because we're both music nuts, you know.
And what's the music you guys are connecting on?
So he loves grocery store hits, bud. Like if
Explain.
there's like any 70s song, 80s song that you could hear in a grocery store, like Frank knows that song. And it's because he worked at a grocery store in Connecticut all his life. And so if you heard a grocery store song, Frank knows it. We also start bonding over hip hop because one of the guys that we're bunking with, this guy and me, know a bunch of hip hop. And Frank's coming in.
What's the era? What year are you
So
in basic?
this would have been 97.
97.
So 97, 98. But the hip hop that I'm loving is, you know, Dr. Dre is fresh. Snoop Dogg is West Coast is now awesome.
Right, we're
Like,
talking about the rise of Death Row Records.
Correct.
Right here.
And through that, like, Kid and Play is still prominent. So if you know how to dance Kid and Play style, you've got an in, right? And the military is a big bonding thing. So music is a thing people bond over. And because of that, we're just kind of sharing these experiences with each other. Basic training would end. He'd go off to wherever the fuck it is he went off to. I ended up in Biloxi. We'd meet up again in a year. And like I said, he'd live on my couch. He'd write poetry. I think he lost his fucking virginity in my mom's car. Like, Frank... It would go on to be a great person, like, and he's a very influential person in my life.
Where did he come from? Was he Colorado?
Connecticut.
Oh, Connecticut.
Yeah, and you'll hear that East Coast come out of him sometimes,
Sure.
like if he's like in a passionate type, like, oh my wicked God, like he gets into that. So it's I love him to death, man. He's my Nuggets, like my other Nuggets persona, Denver Nuggets persona. We go check out all the games together, man.
So would you say that this is like your first like real world homeboy, just like somebody out in the world?
You know what? It's my first person outside of Colorado, yeah.
Gotcha.
That would go on to be a life type of friend.
And does this
sure.
make the military a little easier to get through?
bearable?
Just bearable?
I tell you what, if the military was like basic training, I'd still be in it.
Wow, that's interesting.
Because basic
why?
training, because it's not serious. Once you leave basic training and AIT, you go onto your duty station, and it's a job. So when I was in the military, 96 to 2000, nobody, and I don't know if you remember this or not, people that are listening, that's the last time we weren't at war. So my military experience largely consists of cutting grass, kicking it, and not really doing anything because there was nothing to do. We weren't at war.
Right. These are the Clinton years?
Yeah. So there is no like urgency to like, I have to pay attention to this because I'm going to be throwing a grenade at someone here pretty soon.
Interesting.
So while we're in the military, or at least while I'm in the military, it's fun. It's not a job. Yeah, I'm getting yelled at by a drill sergeant, but the people that I'm meeting and who I'm hanging out with in these experiences in general, this is an amazing time.
And you're finding some community there.
Absolutely. It's because that's all you got around you, and they kind of make it that way. Like, you have to depend on the people around you there. You have to have a battle buddy.
So you're in basic, you get orders. Where do you go?
I end up going back to fucking Fort Carson, which was the last place I wanted to go. I don't want to go anywhere like that. But, which was fine. Come back here, and within that process, become a reservist. And
what is a reservist?
Only the weekend gig. Weekends, Army Reserve, like
Gotcha.
weekend gigs, and then 2 weeks to 4 weeks in the summertime and whatnot. And it's through that I actually because of that, I find my career, which would go on to be service industry, which is where people of Pueblo, Colorado would largely know me from.
What was your first job in the service
The
industry?
old Gold Dust, bud.
The old Gold Dust, which is where?
Which would be on the corner of C and Union. It's the clock repair shop now, the jewelry repair shop.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the Gold Dust.
I know the people who own that.
That used to be part of the Triangle, quote unquote, which was 3 bars in the late 80s, early 90s that everyone would go to. It was like the Gold Dust, the Branch Inn, and the Savoy. So,
and you're still doing Army Reserve?
correct.
While you're
I'm actually working 5 jobs at a time at this point in time. I'm
my
working
gosh.
for DJoy's Italian Cafe for Marty DJoy, rest his soul. And then I'm working at Rogues Gallery in Soho Bar with Johnny Graz, bartending every now and again. Gold Dust, Evolution Nightclub, teaching swing dance, modeling, and reservist.
What's motivating you to keep this sort of schedule?
Women. It was so bad back in the day. I'm getting married, everyone. I should probably precursor that. No, I'm getting my best friend at the time, which is a relationship that I lost, and the one that still affects me deeply because it's my fault that this relationship is lost. Jay and Silent Bob used to have a quote, heterosexual life mate. Mine was Robert. And me and Robert worked everywhere together. So it didn't matter where I worked, Robert would be joining shortly. No matter what I was doing, he would be doing. We played paintball together. We did.
Wait, how do you and Robert meet?
Women. We meet when I get a phone call or when I call him in 8th grade to let him know to leave my girlfriend alone. Because he took her out for a movie. Now, I've never met him face to face. I'm just calling him and let him know I'm not down with that. Go to school the next year. I'm not dating that girl no more. My boy Doug, he's like, hey, Wade, what's going on? This is my boy Robert. This is my boy Wade. And Robert's like, I know you. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I know you. You call my house. I was like, I don't call anybody. He's like, no. And he just says this girl's name, and I'm like, oh my God. We laugh and we become best friends after
wow.
that. Yeah.
So Robert, you meet prior to the military.
Yeah, my freshman year of high school.
So you're back.
Like I say, heterosexual life mate, it was Robert.
So you're back from basic, you're Army Reserve.
Still doing the reserve thing.
Doing the reserve.
Finishing out that
contract.
contract.
Up a number of jobs. You've reconnected
Correct.
with Robert.
Correct.
And you guys are basically
Well, and if you want to talk artistic, like this is another artistic part of me. I do a play for like the Impossible Players. I as well, though.
You do a play. What is your role in it?
I did 2 different roles. It was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I was a doctor that
You're acting.
Correct.
Gotcha.
But I'm also, and I might have jumped a timeline here or two, but one of my other very big creative things is I'm a dancer. So I learned swing dance, start to teach swing dance, and then start to win swing dance competitions. And dancing becomes a big part of my life at this point in time. Like I'm driving all over the place, just doing swing competitions, just swing dancing because it's a revival at this point.
At this point in your life, you're juggling a lot. You're Army Reserve, you're swing dancing, you're acting.
I'm up from 10 a.m. till 3 a.m. every day, and I need every minute of that to be entertained, because there's no internet, guys. There is no internet, people. It does not exist. So you have to fill your time.
What is a day in Wade Ridley's life when there's not something going on in this era?
Sitting in my apartment on Broadway looking at the fucking library. Like, it doesn't exist. A day off did not exist for me back then.
So you're just,
so like my Friday schedule would probably be the hardest. Like Friday to Sunday would always be the hardest. You wake up on Friday at 9 a.m. You go to work at D-Joy's for lunch. You get done with D-Joy's, and then I go to work at Rogues Gallery and Soho Bar from 4 to 9, and then for their happy hour. And then after that, I teach swing dance at Tranny's, which doesn't exist anymore, which was a Tranny supper club. It was on
I remember that. Mm-hmm.
Where the swing dance revival started for Pueblo, Colorado. So I would go teach swing dance there, and then after that, I would go bartend at Evolution nightclub, which was the 8th circle of hell. When that comes to like opulent, like sexual, like deviant, like Pueblo, Colorado remembers Evolution nightclub. You know it. Not
where's that at?
It's on Oneida. It's right next to AT&T. It's like in the architecture building. In between AT&T and Walters, there's a building that's architecture, and that was a warehouse, and that was Evolution nightclub.
Oh wow!
And
that's before.
Yeah, trust me.
I moved to Pueblo, I think.
Trust me. People don't like to talk about it either, because all of the disgusting stuff that went on in that place for the number of years.
Sure. So
I would work there until 3 to 4 a.m. and then I would leave there, sleep for an hour, and then drive to Fort Carson to play Army up until 6 p.m. on Saturday, and then I would teach dance again, go to Evolution again until 4 a.m., go play Army again at 6 a.m., and then Sunday night I would have to drive up to Denver to go teach swing dance or salsa dance, because I started doing that too at Club Sevilla, or what was the other place in there? Like Jupiter Moons of Springs. Anyway, I would teach dance on Sunday, and then Monday I would just crash and sleep like the whole day until Monday night, where I'd probably go out drinking at the Gambler.
Sure.
Or Kickers.
So this is obviously when you really start to hustle. And are you living alone at this point? Or you got an apartment? Where are you at?
Apartment, house. Let's see. Man. Apartment on Broadway. Used to live by Central High School. Bouncing in and out. In between all of this timeline too, I lived in Evergreen. So, God damn it, I'll try to put. So Soho kind of winds down, and I leave with the owners of Rogues Gallery and Soho Bar, and we open up our own joint in Evergreen, Colorado.
Oh wow!
And I'm a junior partner of that, and this is where I start to learn business, where the business of the restaurant industry, I guess you could say.
And how do you get this gig? How does this?
Because I'm just a badass bartender. Like, from that badass, like, if you're a good bartender, someone's going to ask you to manage. And then once they ask you to manage, you learn how to write a schedule. Once you learn how to write a schedule, then you learn how to read an inventory. You learn how to read an inventory. You learn how to do profit P&L sheets and shit like that. And from there, I get the experience at Evergreen. And I have a boy call me in Evergreen and says, "Hey, we just bought this bar downtown. Me and my uncle did. We're losing. We're like fucking up, and we need help. And could you come help and be a managing partner at Phil's Radiator?" So go down, move from Evergreen back down to Pueblo, where Phil's Radiator now becomes. If you guys hear the lore where Phil's Radiator just had 1,000 people every night, that's when I owned it.
That makes sense.
It
and
really
what's the era of this?
This would be 2000, post 2001. So September 11th has happened.
So this is kind of where our timelines start to merge.
I'm still about, I want to say 3 or 4 years ahead of you, because this isn't punk rock Phil's. This is Mexico, Cancun Phil's, where I have women on the bar dancing at all points in time, half naked, where there are melees, literally fucking melees going on every Saturday night.
People so I guess I'm at the Pixie Inn.
You really are. Yeah, you might have been 15 or something at the time. Like, I don't know if you would have been old enough to even
17.
Like. It's not that I cared about you
18.
having an ID and drinking in my establishment at that point in time. But I will say this: I'm surprised our circles didn't cross and previous. So Phil's goes down, and I go on vacation for the first time in like 3 or 4 years. And when I come back, it's no longer a Cancun bar. One of the partners, Clint, has now made it a punk bar, where I say, middle fingers to you guys for ruining everything I worked at for the past 3 years. And I'm going to go to this place called the High Estate across the street. And become a managing partner at the High Estate.
And this is a falling out with Clint and Phil's?
Yeah, correct. And me and Clint to this day still have I wouldn't say beef, but I definitely wouldn't care to ever see him again.
Yeah, so you kind of exited Phil's as I came in. That's
correct.
That's
why I was like, yeah, that's like we wouldn't have met because I would not have walked into Phil's after that. I think it took me a couple of years to walk into Phil's after that. Go to the High Estate, and then from the High Estate.
And the High Estate is the 3-level building on Union, right? That became 3 Below?
Correct. It was after 3 Below.
Okay, after 3 Below.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Across the street from the old Angelo's, and it's like a fucking cupcake place now or something like that. The Angelo's is a cupcake place.
Yeah, the only thing I remember about the High Estate was passing out drunk in the bathroom.
I'm glad we fulfilled our job. That's like what we were supposed to do. But it's at this point in time where my life becomes toxic. And I mean like fucking toxic. I don't know how to handle not only my ego. You talk to anybody back in the day about my fucking ego in my 20s, it's horrible. It's fucking bad. And I'd probably beat the fuck out of myself if I like met myself in the 20s now. I also, for the first time, am losing at a relationship that I don't think I should be losing at. And I'm learning, and I always put it this way, I'm learning my crazy.
What's the relationship?
This is me and my ex-fiance. And she doesn't want to be a part of it anymore, and I won't let it die. And because of this,
She wants out of the relationship?
Yeah, and she did. Yeah, 100%. We were engaged for a week, and then after that week, we start this very toxic, the next 5 years, basically, of my fucking life is this toxic back and forth between me and my ex-fiance. I leave the nightclub industry because being a bartender in the nightclub industry isn't conducive to being in a relationship. And I go to work at fucking Applebee's on the goddamn South Side as a manager. And the culture shock for me is like, I went from the top to now fucking managing Applebee's, and I'm losing it.
Is this a deflation based on this relationship not working out?
This is me losing it. This is me losing it.
This is like, I mean, just based off of what I'm hearing, it's just like you've just been like.
It is like I've been building momentum, and here you go, like,
and you find this obstacle, which is a person. I mean,
that obstacle,
kryptonite.
It's not her, it's me. And it took me becoming a comic to basically understand that. And it took me almost a decade and becoming a comic to understand that. And it's the reason why I started comedy, to tell you the truth. But because of that, I lose my heterosexual life mate, Robert. We no longer speak because of this relationship and the toxicity, what I'm doing to myself. And I finally see the destruction that I'm causing. And I got to leave Pueblo. I have to leave this state because it will only get worse.
Sure.
And I moved to Las Vegas.
And it sounds like you and your ex-fiance are still kind of like, when you say it was toxic for the next 5 years, are you like hooking up and like,
yeah,
you're hooking up? There's just not.
She breaks up with me so she could hook up with someone for a week. And then after that week we get back together, and then, I'm still being a dog, basically. I want my cake and eat it too and everything like that. But I have to leave. Like, I got to leave.
Right.
And I moved to Las Vegas, and I bring my bullshit with me, basically, is what happens.
Why Vegas?
I got connects out there. I got connections out there that...
From the military or from the...
Phil's Radiator. Two people
way.
at Phil's Radiator would go on to work in Vegas, and they would give me... they give me my recommendation. And then Las Vegas... You talk about the fish out of water story that comes to a rise of success. The success I see in Las Vegas makes everything in Pueblo, Colorado seem fucking meaningless. Like just my ego has now become.
And you're what, 23, 24?
I would be 27.
Okay.
Somewhere
Year of
around
chaos.
Yeah, serious.
Oh, no, that's Return to Saturn.
Sure. I am now achieving in Las Vegas at levels that I kind of feel fake. Like, I feel like I shouldn't be at this level.
What does that mean?
What people don't realize about Las Vegas is it is the money mecca of the United States. It pretty much, like, there's so much goddamn money that goes through Las Vegas, either being laundered through clean businesses and everything like that. It is also, it's an international mecca And so for us in the United States, it's like, oh, we're just going to Las Vegas to go have fun. No, this is an international mecca. People come here from all over the world to experience the best in food, the best in entertainment, and they pay top dollar for it. And because of that, the professionalism in Las Vegas is through the fucking roof.
Sure.
You have to be on point 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because especially where I'm working for a company called the Light Group. It doesn't exist anymore. They probably got shut down for being devious pieces of shit. So the Light Group, however, is one of only 2 private contractors in Las Vegas that has their own A, nightclubs, B, fine dining restaurants, C, European swimming pools like Bear and the Mirage, which are topless swimming pools and whatnot. So because of this professionalism, customer service, and VIP treatment, like that's all we do is VIP. Britney
And what
Spears,
are you doing? Are you liaisoning?
So I come in as a busboy, lying to people back in Pueblo, Colorado, that I'm fucking striding. You know, I'm doing good, but I'm a busboy in a fine dining restaurant in Las Vegas. And if you guys think that's cheap, cool, but I'm making $40,000 to $50,000 a year as a busboy. And
That's incredible.
Yeah, serious. And in 2 weeks, I become a food runner, which is like a 20% increase. I'm making 60 G's a year just running food from the kitchen to the fucking table. But I'm ambitious. And within a month, I become a server. And servers make close to 100. And within becoming a server, you're getting more contact with not only VIPs like Leonardo DiCaprio, David Spade, Ray Romano, Jamie Foxx when he won his Oscar, shit like that, right? The Jabberwockies, Dwayne Wade. My big break from becoming a food runner to being taken fucking seriously server-wise was Dwayne Wade's birthday party for the 2006, I think, 2007 NBA All-Star game in Las Vegas.
D-Wade.
He has his birthday party at our nightclub Jet, and they're catering it from our restaurant Stack. And anybody that's working this club inside a Jet, where they've got Prince, Kanye West, Ricky Rod, like they've got all these performers coming for Dwayne Wade's 30th or whatever birthday party. All these NBA players are in the house, and we all get a free pair of Dwayne Wade's Converse because this is his Converse shoe party as well coming out. So it's his birthday party, his shoe party. I get these Dwayne Wade shirts, these Dwayne Wade shoes, and we kill it. Like I kill it, right? We just have this amazing fucking party till 5 a.m. for Dwayne Wade's birthday party. And from that, they're like, you are now no longer a food runner, you're a server, close to 100 G's. Within a year, though, of being a server, I get an opportunity to work with Chef Akira Bach. And I don't know if anybody knows that name, but if you know who James Beard is, you'll know that James Beard is the Academy Awards for food. And Akira Bach won the James Beard Award for Best Presentation, which is like the fucking Oscar, baby. It is for years. But before he started, he needed someone to give him a chance. And that was our company. And he opened up a restaurant called Yellowtail in the Bellagio. But he needed his concept to be proven to all the bigwigs. So this is Billy Baldwin, who isn't a Baldwin brother. He's an oil tycoon. This is the board of the MGM Grand, and he has to prove to these guys that his restaurant is worthy. And he needs a server to take his food from the kitchen to these guys. And the only server he trusts, thank God, was me. And he brings me in, he teaches me all of the finer points of sushi, all of the finer points of Japanese food. Like, when it comes to that, that's my shit. That's my specialty. So he teaches me all of that. And then he says, sell my food to these fucking people here. So I sell his food to the corporate guys at the MGM and the Bellagio, that whole Mirage umbrella. They open up his restaurant, and because of that, I get special like placement within the staff at Yellowtail, which is on the Bellagio. Its patio overlooks the fountains, and it sits over the lake. So if you're sitting on the patio at Yellowtail, you're sitting on that little lake, and you're watching the fountains like spray you with that water. From there, I get an opportunity to build and open up Encore, which is the second tower of the Wynn. Encore is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful casinos on the Strip. Open that up, have a blast, and then 2 back-to-back shitty fucking things happen. 1, the recession hits Las Vegas. We open up Encore January 1st, 2008. Right when the recession hit. Right when Obama tells people, you probably shouldn't be going to Vegas to spend your money. You should probably save it. Right? So
PSA from the president.
It's serious, right? PSA from the president. So Vegas is falling, and speaking of falling, a server drops a martini glass at the bottom of a ramp and walks away from it. And this is against protocol. I don't see it. I slip on it. And as I slip backwards, I use my left hand to brace my fall. And in that process, the Movado watch that I was wearing saves my wrist from going all the way backwards in my hand, basically.
Ooh.
But it cuts the tendons up pretty fucking good. I get fired the next day because they have corporate lawyers on retainer for this very purpose. They fire you. They put you in the process of workman's comp, which I get denied.
This is so you don't sue?
Correct. Well, no, this is because, so if they fire me for what they say I did, I instead of comping 2 ice creams worth $6, I voided them. And because of that, I was fired. They see that as theft there. So, yeah, I know, right? So, and not only that, we're in the recession. So they're trying to fire everybody they can.
Sure.
They don't want staff anymore. So it takes me the next 11 months.
So they're getting creative as to why.
And it takes me the next 11 months to sue, basically, to win, to get surgery, to get back pay, to get workman's comp. However, in that 11 months, I am now a squatting homeless person inside of Las Vegas. I can't get a job anywhere because I'm unemployable because I'm injured. Can't get workman's comp because I got fired. So for the next 11 months, I'm at the whim. Once again, you talk about a rise and now a fall.
Sure.
I am now living in Las Vegas.
And you're not, and it sounds like you're not putting any money away.
I invested.
Okay.
I did.
I'm saying where's...
No. Yeah, the money I put away was invested into a fucking blonde named my ex-fiance, who I had just kept fucking flying out to Las Vegas and spoiling for 5 fucking years.
This is your ex-fiance from Pueblo?
Correct. Who was just playing me out the entire time,
too. Wow, what a perfect situation for her.
And it was. She'd come out to Vegas, and when we didn't see each other, she was just meeting other dudes to go away with them and shit like that. And straight up, I was just in the same situation, just in Las Vegas. So I've fallen now again. Shit's all fucked. And after 11 months, I finally get the surgery. I settle, which is their real goal. I settle for a third of what I should be settling for, because they'll play it out for years more on end until I just can't afford it no more. So I settle for a third of what I should. I take that money, I give both of my middle fingers, and I turn them up to Las Vegas, and I've never been there since. And I leave Las Vegas, and I put a finger on a map. I say I always wanted to go here, and that's New Orleans, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And holy shit, you talk about a change of life. Man, I cannot thank New Orleans and the people of New Orleans enough, especially my friends and my family there. This is the first place. New Orleans will be the first place that I learned that concept, where that concept is applicable. Family.
Wow.
And it's because of people that I met there. The very first person I met there, little piece of this goddamn arrogant shit, and I love him so much to death. I love you so much to death, Aaron. His name's Aaron Schnell. And the very first person I meet, where are you from? I'm from Pueblo. Where are you from? He's like, oh, I'm from here, but I went to school in Pueblo. What? Yeah, Aaron went to school at CSU Pueblo because he lived in Denver for a couple of years. He went to CSU Pueblo for like 3 weeks.
It was USC back then,
yeah,
right?
It was. It sure was.
University of Second Choice. I think that's why they renamed it.
And his dorm room was at the Holiday Inn because all the dorm rooms were fucked up over here at USC. So he had to get dormed up at the Holiday Inn on 29th, that horrible place. So this, when I come to New Orleans, if I thought I was stuck up before, I am definitely stuck up now when I get to New Orleans, because I'm coming from Las Vegas and the velvet ropes. I'm wearing $5,000 suits with $3,000 shoes on. I got this fancy haircut, and I get to New Orleans. Like, I know all this sushi history. I'm a wine som. I'm all this shit. And I get down to New Orleans, and I'm like, this is fucking peasant food. This is fucking, what is this dirty fucking place?
Whoa.
Because this is 3 years after Katrina, and trash is fucking everywhere.
Oh, sure.
Everywhere. And the neighborhood I move into, because it's cheap, right? I'm just like, oh, it's cheap rent. No. I move into the 3rd ward. I move across the street from the Magnolia Projects in the 3rd fucking ward. For those of you that don't know, the Magnolia Projects were the worst projects in all of the United States before they were fucking torn down and built again. Like, I am in a very bad place. Cops don't come to my neighborhood. Taxi cabs won't drop me off there. I'm one of 3 white people in this neighborhood, and I get robbed on Mardi Gras by the only other white people in the neighborhood. New Orleans is crazy hyper violent, and I moved right into it. And I don't know where the fuck I am. I just know that I can get jacked in any fucking second. My house would go on to get robbed twice in 2 days. And I didn't give a fuck. I loved it. Whatever. Because it's New Orleans, and this is New Orleans. This is actually the salt of the earth and my people, I guess you could say. I'm a union kid that was raised up to be that way, you know? Raised up to be union, raised up to be of the community, raised to be up of the people. And Las Vegas changed all of that for me. When you go into management in Las Vegas, union is now the bad guy. Workers' rights don't exist. You are now the middleman for the corporate sleaze and that person I never wanted to fucking be. And it took New Orleans to bring all of that out and just crush it and say, this is what we do here. See, everyone here, if you're rich or if you're poor, we all got problems because we live in New Orleans, and on any given weekend, we cannot have running water because our water purification plant here is the oldest in the country, and it shuts down for like no fucking reason every 3 months. So we're all family here. And we're all going to get drunk here, more than likely at the end of the day and during our shift and everything like that. And if you don't want to do that, that's cool, but we're going to, and everyone's going to have fun. And then I learned how much fun they have because I'm actually there when the Saints win the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
And that night is fucking crazy because I'm running the only fine dining restaurant that's open on Bourbon Street that night. Crazy night. But New Orleans gives back to me the thing that I've really needed to get in touch with myself, and that's an opportunity to be myself. I don't have to wear $3,000 suits. I don't have to have a show trophy ex-fiance. I don't have to have cars and all of this material aspect. I now need to start understanding what's wrong with me.
Sure.
Why did I keep answering my ex-fiance's like text messages all the time? Why did I keep doing that? Why did I need this codependency to exist?
Would it be fair to say that you're getting to know Wade Ridley for the first time in New Orleans?
Absolutely. That introspection that I thought existed all the time is now starting to happen on like a daily basis, and I'm able to apply who I want to be.
And what sparks this? Just this sense of family, this sense of
what it is?
Of not having to live up to an expectation?
I get this reinvigoration of youth of people around me in New Orleans. Aaron Schnell, his brother Spencer Schnell, Nico Moran, these become my brothers. You know, these become people that introduce me to their family. They take me on Thanksgiving and Christmas to their meals and their dinners. Anytime there's a family event, they invite me. Like, this is the first time that's happening.
Wow.
Me and Aaron's dad, Steve, he ended up being the GM at the place I worked, and I was his assistant right underneath him, and we just had a great bond and relationship. And his sister Kate, like his whole family, Nico's whole family, Kim Wyatt, like there are so many people down there that were just so beautiful to me.
And these are maybe some of the first healthy relationships that you're starting to create.
That's a very valid way of putting that. Because there was no reason for me. Working in the service industry allows you never to do that.
Right.
You're allowed to be a chameleon to make your money.
Sure, and it can be very superficial. I mean, you're hustling.
Yeah.
Other people are hustling
100%,
too. I mean,
100%.
I'm sure there's some camaraderie that goes with the job description, but having meaningful and deep connections
doesn't
with
work
people.
like that. Especially because the service industry is well as incestuous. So everyone's sleeping with each other all of the time in the restaurant industry, you know, and it really doesn't work. So these are people that I'm actually making bonds with, and I'm trying to check, like, my goal is becoming aware of that ego and that id and what I had to do to satiate it and how much work I was putting in to satiate.
And at this point, why put your ego in check? Like, what are the benefits to you at this point of checking that ego?
Humanity, bud. Like, compassion. Like, when I would...
But why have compassion at this point? I'm just curious.
That's funny you should say that. Because I have learned what it's like to be fucking homeless. Like, I just squatted in Vegas for 11 months. I'm here in New Orleans in this dirty fucking city.
You're humbled.
100%. And that humility is sexy. That humility is life to me. And I know it takes a certain amount of swag and ego and cockiness to get up on stage and perform in front of people and try to command 200 people. But
you learn more from bombing.
100%. 100. Like they say in Rounders, like poker players, they can't tell you any detail about hands that they won. I could tell you every detail about hands that I lost, though.
Absolutely. I think that's just how the mind works. Like
100%.
Those experiences are going to rise to the top because they affect us in a deeply
100%.
personal way. And so at this point, you're you're humbled, you're homeless for a period of time, you're living basically in the ghettos of New Orleans, but you're also experiencing family.
And
for the
I'm
very
also
first time.
telling myself I'm done with corporate America. I'm done being that person. I have looked back on the past 10 years of my life and realized the millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars I have made for other companies. I need to start investing that in myself somehow.
Ooh.
But I first
That's a big one.
need to get away from corporate world. And I leave the corporate world and I go and work at a job that I'm starting to live for experiences, no longer for money. And I say I don't want to be a corporate person. I want to know what it's like to be a bartender in a shitty, shady French Quarter bar, like I've always heard about. And I found it. Holy shit, did I find it. People, let me tell you something. When you go in for a job interview, ask to physically see the space you will be working in. Because I didn't do that.
Pro tip.
Serious, I didn't do that. And they're like, show up here. You're working third shift, 11 p.m., 7 a.m. at this address. I said,
great,
okay.
I'll be there.
Yeah, right, I'll be there. Right, I show up, and it's obvious from the front that this is a strip club. There is a doorman outside with a top hat on and bum clothes, and a woman standing next, she's standing next to him, but her shoulders are like broad. Right? And okay, hi. I walk past her and walk into the club, and I see a stripper, and her name's Fire, and she's like 98 years old.
Wow.
And she's like, honey, you want a lap dance?
Good for her.
Yeah, right. I'm like, no, I can't put your wheelchair up here, but I'm just going to go find out where I'm working. And she's like, okay, just walk past Miss Honey, who looks exactly like what you think she looks like. And she's like, and Brian, the bartender's in the back third VIP room. And I go back to the third VIP room where the bartender is literally tying off. He's got rubber right around that arm, needle right in that vein, and he's like, registers right there, bud, and just out.
I'll see you in a few hours.
It's serious. So I learn within the next 30 minutes that I'm actually working at a whorehouse, and I'm a pimp, basically. People will come in for services of these women, and they will pay for these services. And
I love it. It's like you declared to the universe.
Now the niche to this is the place that I'm working at is also known as on the streets anyway, and not in the yellow pages, but on the streets, this is one of two places, probably in 5 states, that you can get trans action. So the woman I saw outside with broad shoulders, that's Felina. She's trans. She's a trans woman. Felina is joined by Deanna and Miss Kayla, who are also trans as well. And I tell you what, politicians, superstars, athletes, they'd all come in low-key.
That's amazing, though.
And they're like, here you go. Here's the money. I'm just going to go in the back of the VIP room for a minute. And then they come back out, and I'm okay. And I feel disgusted on the first day, right? And it's 6:45 in the morning. I'm so mad. And I go back to the third VIP room. Get your ass out here, Brian, and clear this drawer. He's like, okay. You know, he's like wiping the heroin off his eyes, basically, and like comes behind the bar, and he's counting out the tips. He's like, here you go. And I'm just like, fine. I'm counting out my tips, and it's like $1,400. Like, okay, I'm going to try this out for the next 18 months.
Sure. So there's a little give and take there. I mean, you declare to the universe, I'm leaving the corporate world. I'm going to work for the experience. You just hit the jackpot of experience.
I really did. This is
and then the thing that keeps you in it is, I mean, obviously you don't just quit corporate life cold turkey.
No.
And you don't just give up money cold turkey. I mean, but you
also,
see
though,
you see the tips at the end of that night.
The underbelly of New Orleans. This would end up being very mafia controlled around there. It used to be run by the Gambino crime family back in the day. This is where the JFK assassination occurred. Like, not occurred, obviously, in Dallas, but this is where all the players met, crime family wise. There's so much drugs, so much violence in the French Quarter, especially in the seedy parts of the French Quarter.
Sure.
Which this is in, you know, and I fall in love with it. and I get to start experiencing everything. BP gives me 10 grand for spilling oil in the Gulf. Like they give everybody $10,000 when the BP oil spills went down on the Gulf horizon. I get 10 grand. I buy a Harley. I ride around the bayou, man. I am now a free person for the first time.
Wow.
And it's right.
How long do you remain at this club?
About a little around a year.
That's incredible, man.
If not around
and
more.
Do you develop a rapport with
all
the
of them.
staff?
Yeah,
and
all of them.
like
Felina is an amazing human
these
being.
become human.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah,
homies.
100%.
Man, I love it.
Yeah, 100%.
I love it.
Felina's star in the and what she gave me, like story wise, confidence wise, like she looks like Patrick Swayze as a man, and that's not who she wanted to be. Like she's spitting image Patrick Swayze, and she's beautiful. She went through her transition and whatnot. Dude, the woman who hired me, her name is Candy Slice, and she sounds like this, y'all. And she is I'm Candy, but if you fuck with me, I turn into Candy Slice. She's known this way. My boss, come to find out, she really should have told me this at the interview, but like she self-castrated herself in the streets of New Orleans.
That's hardcore.
Because she used to be a hustler. Like, she would just get dudes and jack them in the alleys of the fucking French Quarter in the 80s and shit like that. And they call her Candy Slice if you fuck with her. Like, this was the world, right?
That's where the name comes from.
Yeah. So, like...
Oh, wow. Oh, man, I love Candy.
Yeah. So, like, they were both in a couple of pornos, too. And I know they're out there, and I just don't want to look them up. I leave there, and I end up working for a wonderful breakfast company. Right, and it's called the Ruby Slipper, and the Ruby Slipper has like 3 or 4 locations now around the South, and that's going well. But then the health of my parents back here in Pueblo is starting to go south. My dad's getting into his 80s, my mom's in her 70s. Like,
and up until now, you've pretty much put the acting, the dancing.
Well, I gave up all arts for corporate. Like,
gotcha.
Corporate
that's
to be the
been
corporate. Like,
up until now.
Absolutely.
Basically from Vegas all the way up till this point.
Even prior to that. So even from Phil's Radiator,
you're not doing any acting. You're not
nothing.
keeping up with any of the dancing.
Nothing. And it's because once you go into that corporate life, that is your life. And that was a sacrifice I knew I had to make. But New Orleans is starting to show me something about this whole family thing, and I'm like, I need to reconnect. I need to reconnect with my family.
And you get an opportunity to come back to Pueblo under poor circumstances, but you're coming back to Pueblo.
Correct.
And is this the first time? Like, are you touching base with your family while you're?
Yeah.
This is the first time.
Oh no, I'm touching base. Yeah, I talk to my mom. Yeah, but this is like I'll come back to Pueblo like maybe once or twice a year. But
Gotcha.
like I maybe have seen my family like 6 times.
But are you
in the past
limiting your
decade.
contact with your family at this point?
No, not at all. Like me and my mom would probably talk like once every 2 weeks or something like that.
Okay.
Me and Dave, though, would talk like once a year. Me and Dave didn't have a good relationship during this period of time because the way that the High Estate ended had a lot of animosity. So me and Dave don't really talk. I come back to Colorado, and I come back with nothing. You know, I'm back here in Colorado. I'm living with my parents. I'm fucking 30.
You move back.
Correct.
You move back to
Pueblo.
To basically
my mom needs
to kind of assist and take care of your dad.
My mom takes care of my dad because, like I said, he worked at CF&I for 46 years.
Yeah.
Broke his back, had major back surgery 15 years ago, and my mom takes care of him, but she tore a rotator cuff, and she can no longer do that. So once that
and does he have to be in a wheelchair? What does that entail for your dad?
He can't really stand and he can't really sit. He could shuffle around, like he could walk. I'm sure he should use a wheelchair, but he probably refuses to. So come back, take care of my mom and dad, and it takes about a year of healing. And in that year, the only thing I'm doing is studying stand-up comedy. Where the hell did this come from? Well, I've always loved stand-up, but part of that introspection came to someone being able to communicate to me how fucking dumb I was and the responsibility that I needed to take. And that came in the form of Patrice O'Neal.
Which is
crazy for people to hear a little bit because Patrice O'Neal is known as a quite horrible misogynist. Horrible. As a stand-up comic, though, he's a genius. He's seen as a genius by Bill Burr, Kevin Hart, Louis C.K. Everybody that we know today knows Patrice to be a goddamn genius, especially when it came to relationships, and especially when it came to men's responsibility to themselves in a relationship. And once I got past all of his bullshit, and I could see what truth that maybe he was trying to communicate, I started to hone in on that. And how he did that was so goddamn sexy to me. How he was able to communicate that to me through stand-up comedy was sexy.
And so, are you watching Patrice O'Neal stand up? Like,
he doesn't have much.
Where do you start?
Doesn't have much.
Where does your comedy?
Here we go. So, this next year, I'm keeping myself inside of Pueblo, Colorado, because, and I don't know that this is true, but I feel that it's true because I'm a paranoid motherfucker. Like, I feel that the city of Pueblo hates me after High Estate, Phil's Radiator, Evolution Nightclub. Like, I feel like I have a lot of enemies in Pueblo. And I have no reason to feel that way, but I do.
Well, there's some guilt. There's some
100%
self-deprecation involved.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I don't want to go outside. I'm just taking care of my parents, and I listen to this cat named Patrice O'Neal. Now I want to know more Patrice O'Neal, and he only has at this point in time one stand-up special, and you could really not find it. But if you're a little inquisitive, you could find about 100 hours of Patrice O'Neal just having conversations in real life about a multitude of things on the Opie and Anthony show, which was in New York, around the Boston area, early 2000s. They're done now. There is no O&A.
And you basically start your study.
Yeah, I do.
You start your study of comedy.
And because I'm studying Patrice O'Neal, his best friends, like I said, are Bill Burr, Kevin Hart, Jimmy Norton, people who today are at the top of the stand-up comedy world.
Absolutely.
And when I hear a name like Jimmy Norton, and I don't know who Jimmy Norton is, I know he's a stand-up, but I don't know who he is. So now I need to listen to everything he's ever produced.
Up. So basically, he becomes a indirect mentor.
100%. And I now take the next year of my life to listen to probably close to over 1,000 stand-up comedy albums. I literally hit the fucking torrents.
Where does this obsession come from?
Because that's me. That's me, and not only me in a creative spirit. I like to say some type of artists. Like, once you get a song, just a ditty in your head, do you stop or do you go to the studio?
Oh, I'm completely obsessed.
That's what I'm saying.
just like, where does it come from?
So, and that come from is like, if you've been following this story, I always like to know everything. I guess I always like to be knowledgeable to whatever I'm talking to, and this is that ego part, I like to be the smartest person in the room. And I like to know everything about the subject that I'm talking about. So stand-up comedy, I start listening to about 1,000 different stand-up comedy CDs. And then 6 years ago, basically almost to the day that we're filming this, probably within 3 weeks of us recording this, I did my first stand-up comedy, and it was at the Sports Garden here in Pueblo that randomly had a stand-up comedy show. I got 5 minutes on it, and I fucking breathed fire. I did good, and I breathed fucking fire. Like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
This is an open mic?
This is a show. I didn't do an open mic first.
What?
Someone had saw me do a performance of a storytelling performance, and they're like, yeah, I'll give you 5 minutes. So I do this 5 minutes, and even like... Someone's like, I went to this comedy show last night. They posted it on the social network the next day. I went to the show last night. There was one person there that they're going to be good, and that's Wade. And I was just fucking, yeah. So from that point in time on, I stopped listening to comedy because I didn't want to be influenced by anything. And I started writing and looking for mics and getting in the scene. And then I also started listening to this new podcast, the Joe Rogan podcast. Don't listen to it anymore, but I started listening to that, and I was like, well, fucking Pueblo needs that. It seems like every other fucking comedian in this world is going to have a podcast. I need to start that too.
So lots of things kind of just like, there's a lot of just sort of...
well, I'm also trying to find my way in life. I know that I'm not going to be this corporate person anymore. I also know that I have a real fucking problem with authority. So when me goes to like a job and it's like, hey, let me be an employee, I know that there'll be probably 6 months down the road some type of like spark that'll start some type.
But it's like it's almost as if everything is leading up to this. I mean,
really is.
You're into your encyclopedic knowledge. For one,
sure.
You getting into acting, dancing, all things that have to do with rhythm, have to do with timing, have to do with stage presence. You go and have this tenure in, you go to the Army,
sure.
Which gives you some grit.
It does.
It gives you some experiences. You moved to Vegas, you moved to New Orleans, and so at this point you got to have so much material available to you.
But that's not what I'm paying attention to, because when you're an early comic, the only things you know how to talk about, especially men and guys, if you're thinking about starting stand-up comic, avoid these 3 subjects at the beginning. Don't talk about your dick. Don't talk about how much you hate women, and don't talk about poop. If you could avoid those 3 topics right there, you're going to have a much better foundation than I did, because my influence was Patrice O'Neal. And like we just discussed, Patrice O'Neal was all about fucking misogyny for 3/4 of his stand-up set. For me, when I started, I am now using this as therapy. And I know...
Sure, and you have a template.
Correct. And that template is like pro-male, I guess you could say. And this is where I think I want to be when I first start stand-up comedy. Soon leave that in the dust, though. Leave all of that behind. Also, so there's no comedy in Pueblo. There's no comedy in Pueblo, Colorado. There's a show every now and again. There's no open mics or anything like that. And I would have to spend $100 to drive up to Denver to go last at 1:30 in the morning in front of 2 people. And it just wasn't worth it to me. So I was like, fuck it. I'm starting my own comedy open mic here at the downtown bar. And then I'm going to start a show as well at the downtown bar. The comedy open mic goes off like gangbusters. I start drawing in about 100 people every open mic, not a show.
Because at this point, you know how to do something successfully.
Correct. I mean, business-wise, ad-wise, like Vegas taught me, New Orleans taught me ad-wise, all of that. But
you've got all the tools, though.
But the one tool that I don't know how to use and I don't know what to do, but I'm trying and struggling at it is graphic design. And thank God you thought I looked like a 4-year-old kindergartner with a crayon, because you took me under your wing at this point. This is where our introduction comes with Carl Grutt. Carl Grutt is supposed to write an article about you for a Colorado Springs newspaper, and he needs someone to take photos of it. And he noticed that I was taking photos of all the open mics, and I was promoting.
That's right, I forgot
about that.
And he's like,
you should come to this interview, you and Inaiah. You could take pictures of Inaiah, and if you've never met Inaiah, you two should talk.
Right, I forgot about that.
And we spent 3 fucking hours not taking pictures, and all we were doing was bullshitting the entire time. From that point in time on, you said, you should come over here and let me teach you some graphic design. And you taught me all of the basics of graphic design. And from that, I used that to promote the comedy scene. And then within all of this moment, I sort of realize I'm a fucking artist.
Yeah.
I'm an artist.
Absolutely.
I'm not a corporate shill, even though I'm good at it. I'm not a bartender. I'm a goddamned artist, and it doesn't matter what medium you put me in. In the words of fucking Paul McCartney, or I'm sorry, John Lennon, you give me a fucking tuba, I'll get something out of it. And that's how I feel about being an artist. So stand-up comedy.
Well, at this point, you've used creativity for everything.
I've used creativity to make corporations millions.
Sure.
Because that's what they want you to do.
Absolutely.
You've
just learned how to shift that creativity to working for yourself.
Correct.
But you were creative all the while.
Correct.
You were never not an artist, even when you went deep into corporate land.
And it took me almost 35 years to understand that. So, stand-up comic now for 6 years. Within that 6 years, I've had some wonderful successes.
That's amazing that you were like just getting started when we met.
Literally.
I didn't realize that.
Literally.
Like I walked in.
I'm in my first year of stand-up comedy.
I remember coming down to the downtown bar and just like you had such a presence, and that was something that I realized. Like I fell in love with the comics. I mean, you had Paul Rosales, you had John Bueno, you had Matt Chapman.
Oh man,
you just had a lot of people. Casey Dean
Frace, yeah.
Oh my gosh, Ben Verbeek. I just remember a lot of comedians, and everybody was doing good, and everybody was like really, like everybody was honing in their craft. Everybody was really starting to find their voice.
100%.
There was you, Wade, and you were hosting these shows, and you were setting a bar, and you were setting a vibe.
Yeah,
and I caught that vibe.
Yeah,
like when I walked into that place, I literally felt very similar to how I felt. When I stumbled into the punk rock scene here in Pueblo,
where it's like you kind of created that punk. Well, I don't want to say created, but you definitely exploited it to where like people knew about it.
Yeah, I was definitely another wave. Like the punk rock scene here was pretty healthy when I got involved. I was just a part of another wave of that.
I gotcha.
And it's like, but you kind of were on the forefront of something. Like,
yes.
I did not know there was comedy going on in Pueblo.
And because there wasn't. All. There wasn't.
Yeah,
there
and,
really
and I
wasn't.
would see, there was like whispers of like, oh, there's an open mic and there's a comedy night, but I completely wrote it off.
Which everybody
I was like,
should.
There's no...
The only comedy night that existed in Pueblo, Colorado prior to what we were starting was like in the early 2000s at Pepper's nightclub. There would be a comedy night there on Friday nights at 7:00, and that never really took off.
It's like I don't want to go to an open mic as a musician. Why the fuck would I go want to see comedians doing it? Well, but then when I started going, I was like, there is a vibe happening here.
Well, and that's how a fucking badass comedy scene exists. Like that doesn't exist anymore here in Pueblo, Colorado. And it kind of died when I left. And I hate saying that because it sounds egotistical, but it's the truth. Because you have to put in a lot of fucking work to keep a scene going.
Absolutely.
And
it takes a village to raise a scene.
Yeah.
But it also takes somebody who's deeply motivated and understands the underworkings of what it takes to make something successful.
Correct.
And you have this education up until this point.
Correct.
So you're bringing your entire life of education and pouring it into comedy.
Correct.
And you made it look easy. You really did. And the success of the comedy scene was because you were putting so much love.
Well, and I was not only investing my own time, but like people like you yourself. Like, so you would come out with all of your friends and you would try stand-up comedy. And not only
I was
did you
into it.
You were literally teaching me how to advertise stand-up comedy as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were also in this point in time, and I credit you so much for this, and I know I say it too much in our private conversation, but like, you literally taught me how to be an artist because I did not have that. I didn't have that knowledge. I knew what an artist was, and I knew that artists could be people, but what people don't see of Inaiah Lujan is the 12 hours a fucking day that you work on your projects.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the graphic design and poster that Inaiah just put out, it is a work of art, and with that title comes 20 hours behind it. You know, like, there's a lot of work that you put in behind the scenes that needs that investment. So, as an artist, I didn't know that. Like, as that creative process, I didn't know any of that.
Well, it was such a great exchange between the two of us because I was at a place in my life where I'd had that rise, big rise. Haunted wind chimes.
Hell yeah, man, you're
and
Inaiah Lujan.
Yeah, we climbed up that ladder all the way to a Prairie Home Companion,
Fuck yeah.
10 million listeners worldwide.
That's so fucking crazy.
And then the crash, you know what I mean? Then it's like so much internal struggle, so much internal conflict, so much like my hesitance of ever being a leader really started to come out. I always had the desire to lead. I've always had the ability to lead.
Well, I think even more so people have had the desire to follow.
Well, I've always been a reluctant leader, and I really lost the fight because my confidence was just so low at the time when you and I met. So where I think it was a very mutual meeting, it's like you may have been learning graphic design and artistry from me, but you were like reminding me what
an adult conversation was.
What an adult conversation was, absolutely. Because it'd been years since I had one. It had been years since I didn't feel like I was walking on eggshells around my associates, around my bandmates. It had been years since I had checked in with myself. It had been years, maybe even never. At this point, I don't know if I'd have even ever been honest with myself about my situation.
That's a very good way of looking at it.
And you brought some perspective into my life that I desperately needed because you had no emotional attachment to what I was going through. So if I brought something up, I brought something up with you, you were able to quickly.
That's the corporate and analyze. That's corporate too. Corporate, there is no emotion in any subject that you talk about. There's only efficiency.
It may
and the
be
betterment.
corporate, but it was something that I really needed.
Well,
and it planted a seed, Wade. It planted a seed that sprouted and blossomed into what I now know is self-care.
That's insane.
It really did.
I remember talking to you about this just a couple weeks ago.
And I've never had somebody be so open and honest with me that way. That wasn't a family member.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
But this just somebody who came into my life. You posed no threat in the way that you presented information to me.
Sure.
And I think I really appreciated that.
Well, even within that, though, you take that information, you act upon.
But I was ready.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people may take for granted or simply don't understand is that if you're not ready to be honest with yourself or hear the truth, you're not going to hear it.
And that's one of my biggest problems.
And you're not, you're going to live in denial. And the thing about it is my life had kind of, my life was not good at that point in my life. And I wasn't, one, willing to admit that to myself.
You had a lot of conflict.
Two, I didn't know my way out of it.
Well, not only a lot of conflict, but you also had to prose yourself to your demographic. And I hate saying it demographic, but you have to prose yourself as, hey man, everything's cool.
Absolutely. I made a career. I made a career of everything's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's amazing to think that, you know, going through a divorce, going through all of this stuff in my life very publicly, willingly, publicly, getting to this place of honesty and vulnerability, but it has been so freeing. Like, I feel so much lighter. I feel so much...
well, we used to have a conversation back in the day because when we first met, you're going to get married. You're not engaged at this point in time, I don't think.
I think I got engaged...
like a year after we met, somewhere around
that sounds about right, 2015.
And we would have this conversation because I had just got done with my own, like, Patrice O'Neal Be a Man workshop type of thing. And it was like, this self is what I need to perfect.
Well, you've had so many rises and falls at this point. You were able to really just kind of shed some light.
But even within that, now how we talk, now I'm getting ready to be married, and I'm like, these two people are going to make this life, and you're like, you like this solidarity, the singularity that makes you this person.
and I'm super happy for you, man.
And I'm super happy for you. Like, I absolutely know the freeingness to be able to say I'm all right with myself.
Here's the thing, Wade, and you know, and I don't consider myself a religious person, but I'm definitely a spiritual person. I mean, I've got an altar over here with sage and feathers.
Absolutely, man.
I mean, I believe in the power of intention. I believe in the universe and manifestation. I got invited to be a part of a peyote ceremony with my sister and my brother-in-law, and they invited me. They invited me into the teepee. It was a couple years ago. They set an intention to do a peyote ceremony for my niece Matea every year of her life for the next 4 years.
Fuck yeah!
And in that teepee, I really learned how to pray. I really learned what vulnerability is. I really learned a lot about myself, a lot about relations, a lot about just the point I'm making here is that my prayer was, I really want healthy relationships in my life.
Which is on you to begin with.
100%. Here's the thing about having healthy relationships. My relationships weren't healthy at the time.
Oh yeah.
And as a matter of fact, they were very unhealthy, and that's not on anybody but myself.
Sure.
Because I had the tendency to overcompensate. I had the tendency to really project myself into this person who I thought people needed me to be. There's a lot of assumption in that.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And so, in the strangest way of how the universe unfolds, my getting divorced, my not having a best friend around anymore, having to cut a lot of toxic people out of my life, was necessary for having healthy relationships.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I don't know if it's a rite of passage. Like, that failure has to happen before you decide. Like, for me, it might have been a rite of passage with my ex-fiance in my early 20s and whatnot, to go through the tumultuous... Man, mine was a decade. Mine was almost 10 years, man.
I don't think there's any avoiding it.
No.
I really don't. I think that experience is always going to be king. And I think that as much as our parents and other mentors in our life try to prepare us for those sort of things, until you go through something, there is just no
way.
There's no way you could ever know. Nobody can protect you from it.
No, and hey, I don't want to sound anti-relationship because I've got nothing but love for people who are able to make a relationship work for decades. I hope to do that myself. But to make that happen, you have to have, like I said, I got that ego, but I had no confidence in myself. So when it came down to it,
that's a great thing. That's really a good thing to point out, is that there's a difference between an ego and having confidence.
Absolutely. So my insecurity is at home, and that ego is a byproduct of that insecurity.
100%. I love the way you put that.
So through that, though, there has to be a healthy manifestation for that ego to thrive. Because if there wasn't, and this is me personally speaking, if there's not, then it only can infest. If
Sure.
I'm not going to spread it out.
And this is another great point, a healthy ego.
Which is, so when you said creative wellness, you like triggered cognitive dissonance inside of my head. You really, like, those two words just don't exist, because I think of the source of my creativity comes from the overabundance of fucking anger.
Yes.
I have.
I love it.
Yeah.
But you know what? You put the word healthy before any of those things.
Sure.
And it's possible. It's
Sure.
possible. There is a healthy way to express your
there's
anger.
a healthy way for you to write a song, sure. And it sucks that for a healthy way for me to express all that, I get to say a lot of fucked up shit in the process. I really get to go up on stage and say some shit that people are like, is this dude telling the truth? Because it is fucked up.
Well, that's what works, though, and that's
Sure.
the beauty. That's the beauty of artistry, is nobody gets to tell you what works. For you.
No, man, not at all.
They really don't.
Not
and,
at all.
And the discovery of that, and the way we figure that out, the just trudging through the mud and all the fucking bullshit we have to go through in order to free ourselves from any sort of comparing we do.
Sure.
From any sort of,
Sure.
you know, everybody's going to have their opinions. Everybody's going to have.
One of the hardest parts for me being an artist as opposed to being a corporate person is the corporate person. There's a very structured way for you to get to the top. Wherever it is you want to go, do you want to be middle management? Here is a very structured way for you to be middle management. Okay, you want
And
to
there's
be
lots to be learned from that.
Sure. But when you contrast that with stand-up comedy, with graphic design, with making music, there is zero way. There is no ladder. There is no concept for you to be successful.
No.
What do you want to be on Netflix? I don't fucking know.
Right.
I don't know. Do you want to work? Put in 20 hours a day fucking on stage, 10,000 hours.
Well, that's
you know,
something
like,
that's something people don't really witness, and that's what's beautiful about the podcast
Sure.
and the long format, and what's really got me into it is just listening to thousands of interviews of realizing that every artist had to fucking struggle to get where they are.
Well, that's a part of...
take any successful, you know, author, comedian, musician, and the one thing that you're probably missing is the 15 fucking years it took them to get to your ears.
Absolutely. The biggest, my biggest equation is trauma equals creativity. And I only know it to be that. So every stand-up comic I know is fucked up. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean physically.
No, everybody's fucked up.
Yeah, sure.
Nobody is free of trauma.
No, but I don't know why I consider comedians to go through just a little bit more fucked up shit.
Because you're biased.
Yeah, I really am. And I shouldn't say that because, you know, Basquiat probably went through some fucked up shit in his life. You know, Van Gogh never sold a goddamn painting while he was alive.
Sure.
You know, like that would fuck me over if no one told me I was good my entire creative career. However, in that process, in that creative wellness, like there is definitely for me, there's a darkness that has to come out.
Oh, the darkness
It
is...
has to.
Man.
And
but you got to make friends with the darkness.
well, what I have to do, as a comic,
say.
what I have to do is be able to live in the awkwardness of the darkness.
That's something you really taught me, too.
So, as a stand-up comic, it's my job to create an awkward situation.
Tension.
It's
all about tension.
And to create
Dissonance.
that situation, that means I have to be happy about everything that's just occurred, right?
I love it.
And I have to do that with people that I don't know. So here's 200 people that I just said some pretty, you know, I'm in middle America, very conservative, and I'll say stuff like, I'm the bastard son of a Muslim immigrant. Now, saying that in parts of California are cool. Let me tell you, people saying that in Southeast Kansas, that'll definitely get you a very audible, very clear, what the fuck, you know, from the back of the audience to where now.
But it's a beautiful thing to speak your truth no matter where you're at.
And
that may be one of the most beautiful things is to know who you are and to speak your truth. And also, I've never wanted to spend my whole life to be in the middle.
Sure.
Like the middle consists of pleasing everybody.
I agree.
The middle consists of censoring yourself. The middle consists of I say this to this group of people, but I say this to this other group of people.
It's funny you say that.
Here's the thing: be a 1 or a 10. Be hated or loved. Don't be in the middle.
Don't be one of my favorite quotes from Gangs of New York. Leo Dio, one of my favorite actors, as well as Daniel Day-Lewis.
Shout out.
Day-Lewis says in one of the lines, he's like, "You are neither hot You are neither, you are nor are you cold, you are lukewarm, so I spit you out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and that's something I learned from you too. It's like you as a comedian, you've made it your job to split a room.
100%.
You've made it your job to create
100%.
tension, to lean into awkwardness.
Well, but what you're saying now as well, I have to play around the fringes of your statement that you just made, and that fringe is that censorship part. So while you're making music and the new album you made, I swear to God, man, I know I laughed so hard when I heard it. It's because it's one of the most beautiful fucking things. I can't believe you fucking made this goddamn album. Every time I think about it, man, it's insane. I have to get paid, censor myself.
Right.
So, but like we were talking before we started recording, there's a stand-up comic named Ben Cronenberg who gave me some wonderful advice when it comes to my world, because I said I want to start writing clean material. That way I can get the real money. Like,
Well, I think that's so smart, though.
sure. Well, I like being diverse. I like being a multi-tool, but I like getting
But
paid.
here's the thing:
as well.
you don't have to censor yourself to write clean material.
And this is what Ben Cronenberg said. So I gave him an example of a bit that I said. I was like, my fiance is asexual, which means she doesn't like sex, which sucks because that's the only thing I'm good at. Ben Cronenberg said, oh, your girlfriend is asexual, she doesn't give a fuck, which is the smartest fucking joke I've ever heard. It's vulgar, and 100% within all of that, he's like, I just made that dirty, but you can make it clean.
Right.
Don't censor yourself.
And don't go for the cheap laugh.
Let the original come out.
Use your intelligence.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Let the original come out, and then work the Rubik's Cube down.
It's not
from
so
that.
much about censorship. It's about accessibility.
Correct. Which is a very good point. One of my favorite things to bring up, Chris Rock is one of my favorite comics of all time. And one of the reasons why you can apply this to Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle and other great comics, Liza Schlesinger. I went to watch Chris Rock, and the people in front of me, the dude on the right was an obvious 1% hedge fund manager. And sitting next to him was a very obvious Wendy's burger flipper. Now, these two worlds have nothing in common outside of homie ordering a burger from homie. They should not be laughing at the same bit together, but they are. Because Chris Rock is hilarious, and he knows how to communicate to all forms of humanity here on this planet.
That's such a great point.
And being able to do that in his show, 5 minutes later, the 1% hedge fund manager is offended. And the burger flipper's laughing his ass off. But 5 minutes after that, the burger flipper is offended, and the hedge fund manager is laughing his ass off. And then at the very end of the show, everybody's laughing their ass off.
But that's
the goal.
That's the goal. That's the duty of being an artist.
100%.
You know what I mean? Is I think in our autonomy, in us not considering the burger flipper and the hedge fund person, and us being who we are,
just let it go.
That's where you find that.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't find that trying to do that.
But now you're talking about the processes of creativity.
Absolutely.
So if you were to apply creative wellness to creative process, I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't know creative wellness to process. The only part I know of creative wellness is if I'm depressed, I should start to design something. I should start to write something. I should start to do something to get this out. For me as an artist, especially when it comes to creation, mine's all about momentum and recognizing it. So I know that I'm not on 24/7. I could be on 24/7 in a corporate restaurant, but as an artist, it doesn't work like that for me.
So life is slowed down a little bit for you. Not slowed down in the sense of your output, but slowed down in the sense of you're not working 5 jobs.
Correct.
You're not working in a corporate world. So walk me through just a daily routine, just something you do outside of creativity, or you could include creativity that just is you taking care of yourself. How do you take care of yourself? Origami.
Yeah. I need some type of activity going on at all times.
That's meditative.
Yeah. And more than meditative, challenging. So origami is so goddamn challenging with precision, which is a big part of who I am and why I succeeded in the corporate world, is that precision.
Sure.
Comedy, I don't need it necessarily. You definitely need to be precise about what you're saying, but you don't need like metallist, like metallurgy, like precision and stuff like that. You definitely, in origami, need precision and patience and the ability to fail. And all of these three things come together while I figure my shit out. If not that, a lot of my time is driving, and I don't think there's a more favorite activity I have in this world than driving. And driving.
Do you still walk a lot?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's another way of taking care of yourself.
5 miles a day.
Is walking meditative for you, or is that where you work out some of your...
No, that's meditative, but my mind is all over the place. So it's like...
How do you quiet your mind?
I don't.
You don't?
Just realize at that point in time that I need... So recognizing the obstruction, I guess, is one of my big things. That obstruction being depression, that obstruction being my own ego or complacency, like it's been 3 weeks.
What are the red flags? What are the red flags when you feel like you're heading in that direction? And how do you change it?
Brown cinnamon sugar Pop-Tarts. When that's what I notice. Things are starting to go downhill. That's my depressive food, I guess. So if I'm like grabbing at a Pop-Tart, I know that I should start. Like, it's so weird.
That's incredible, though. Like, I love the self-awareness, though.
Yeah, but that's
I think to me that is creative wellness.
Sure.
To me that's recognizing what's going to send us into non-productivity.
Yeah.
And non-productivity is non-creativeness.
100%.
You know what I mean? So
video games also are very rad for me, but it was something I had to quit. I had to quit playing video games when I started stand-up comedy because I was playing Call of Duty for 13 hours a day.
It's a distraction.
Well, I was gonna go pro. I swear to God. Like I was number one in the state for Call of Duty. Amongst all of the stats and everything like that. Little kids, this is before YouTube, like you started recording on YouTube and like fucking kids would blast it all over Twitter and shit. Like that was not happening yet, but it was about to happen and people were recording my clips and like playing. So I was like, I'm either going to be a fucking gamer or I'm going to be a stand-up comic.
Man. So
gave up video games, gave up smoking, gave up pornography, gave up women, gave up everything for like 5 years.
Man.
Yeah.
I love it though.
Yeah.
It's like to me, when we learn to prioritize the things in our life, so much opens up.
Well, you know what else is realizing that you're allowed to fail at that too.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
If I need to take a step back to take a 12 step forward, I will do that.
You're allowed to fail. I love
100%.
that. At everything.
At everything. It doesn't matter if it's your process, if it's your New Year's resolution, who gives a shit? Like that failure, as long as you're going to continue to like keep going from it.
Not only that, but that's where self-love really comes into play and is really so important. Is that when you do failure is not it's not something that may or may not happen. It's
correct. Guaranteed.
The
past year for me was probably one of the hardest
it's
stand-up
like
comedy
what you do with that failure is everything.
So stand-up comedy wise, to give some people some perspective, a solid headliner has about an hour and a half of material. And for me, I could talk for an hour and a half, love the sound of my voice. However, I'm only funny for about 35 to 40 minutes. And that's 6 years of work.
Yeah.
I would love for that to be an hour and a half, but that's going to take me another
35 to 40
years.
Minutes is an incredible feat.
Yeah.
For people out there who don't, who've never dabbled in comedy or who've maybe only witnessed comedy through
having
specials.
To perform for an hour.
Yeah, if an hour of material, even by some of the best comics in the world, is worked on for
decades.
Yeah,
decades. 100%.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, as far as the background research, but like you take a Kevin Hart. I mean, he's working on 16 months before he does that.
Yeah.
Before he does that special.
For me, I have one bit about the NFL that lasts now. I think it's 12 minutes long, but it originally started out as I think 6 words.
Right.
And it took me 6 years to make those 6 words.
That's what I'm saying. If I would challenge any of our audience members, if you think that an hour of comedy is no time at all, go to an open mic.
Oh, fuck.
And try to do 5.
Yeah, go to Lulu's and watch how that goes down.
And try to do 5 minutes.
Try to do 2.
Yeah.
I want you to do 2 minutes and get a response every 10 seconds for 2 minutes.
Dude. When I got up on stage and tried my hand at comedy, I didn't have a plan. I didn't.
I was so mad that you had like jokes, like you had a format. You were fucking funny.
I didn't
was
though.
So goddamn mad.
I didn't. I literally in my naivety, and that's the way the universe works. Is if you're trying something for the first time, and this is something I read in The Alchemist, which is one of my favorite books. The universe will conspire to aid you.
I love that.
The universe will conspire to aid you in that if that's something you really want to do. So what I think I experienced was what's commonly known as beginner's luck, and it sparked.
You put it that way
because the next time I did it, I was really humbled, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
That's how it's supposed to happen, though.
Yeah,
that's how it's supposed to happen in stand-up comedy. However, and if I may argue for your benefit, you are an artist. And we have discussed how formulaic that can be across multiple fields.
Absolutely. Well,
the rule of three
rhythmic.
exists in graphic design, it exists in music, it exists in comedy.
Yeah, there is some constants, and a lot of it is based on rhythm and timing.
And you have a little bit of that going into
Sure.
that. It's not like you were Bojan, who needed to be taught that after like 2 years. Because Bojan had one of the best sets I'd ever seen in my entire life. That guy at a random show one night. It was crazy to see 2 years of his work pay off in 5 minutes
I love
never
it.
before. It was amazing, right? So he had to learn that, whereas when you learned that was probably when you were 18 months old. And,
sure.
and being able
but
to
comedy
apply
is
that.
like such a different beast,
Very
and
true.
like anybody who thinks they can go from being
you had your head down a lot. It would crack me up.
a musician to
Yeah.
being a comedian. Well, I had no confidence.
Sure,
you know
you're
what I
looking
mean?
at your feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the truth is like I am a very confident musician, but
Yeah, you talk between your sets all the time, or between
Yeah.
your songs all the time.
but
you know?
at the same time, like I didn't have any real confidence. It was
Sure.
it was all manufactured.
Sure.
Because
Did not having a guitar in front of you matter?
fuck yeah, absolutely. That was like my shield.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%, right?
But what it really did for me was it gave me an incredible respect for comedians. It gave me an incredible respect for people who try something as terrifying as stand-up comedy. It's one of the scariest and most rewarding things I've ever tried. And it's all you. You own every
Sure.
moment. You own every moment on that stage.
Have to.
If you bomb, if you succeed,
Our
if you
rule
fail.
is you're only as good as your last set. So we have no ladder of you're doing great. You know, we have no ladder of you are now successful as a stand-up comic. We have only monetary success and our peers' opinion.
Sure.
So, which is much more than monetary success in the stand-up world. Like Doug Stanhope, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, how do you measure your success as a comedian?
for
How do you know
me-
you're growing?
For me, there is this wonderful middle class of stand-up comedy that I would love to get to. I don't necessarily need a Netflix special. I would love to be able to just tour back and forth across America as a headliner, get paid to do it, and just love life, man. I love to be a road dog. That's the awesome part.
I think that's such a good headspace to have.
Yeah.
And I think that if you love something, you do it.
I get to go to weird places, man. I got to go 2 weekends ago. I went to Ogallala, Nebraska.
Yeah, I've been to Ogallala.
Place is
that was like
awesome.
the first place outside. That's the furthest west I ever went as a 22-year-old.
No shit, huh?
Yeah, well, and then I eventually made it
Oh,
to
of
New
course,
York.
New York, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but that was like the first place that I had been east.
Yeah, east.
The first
Yeah,
place I had been east of
You
Colorado.
go to this place, you're like, Ogallala. And you
Yeah.
show up to Ogallala, and they have like
I've never been in like the town of
I
Ogallala.
went to the town of Ogallala.
I just went to the lake and
Yeah, man,
crashed
the
out.
beautiful lake. Yeah, they have the huge Lake McConaughey, which gets
Yep.
like
Yep.
100,000 tourists and a bunch of bald
beautiful.
eagles. Yeah, beautiful. But you go to this place like Ogallala, you learn their history. You know,
yeah.
I know I bagged on Southeast Kansas earlier, but literally that's my stomping ground, man. Iola, Chinook.
No, I love it.
Yeah, Moran, Kansas has a population of 300 people and zero internet, but guess what? They know who Wade Ridley is there, and I love that shit,
Absolutely.
man. Yeah.
I think we're going to wrap this thing up, but one thing I do want to acknowledge is that I really like the fact that when you set that intention of I'm not going to chase this money anymore. I'm going to chase the experience.
Yep.
I feel like you're right there, man.
Thanks, man.
You set that intention early on in your life, and I can just see that moving.
Struggle all the way through.
Yeah,
man,
I can see it. And the thing about it is you found love in the struggle.
Yes.
And you found love and humanity and realness in what you do. And I appreciate that so much, Wade.
Man, you had so much to do with it too. I appreciate you
likewise.
so much. Thanks for having me on this too.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for being the first guest.
What's the name of this?
It's called Cast the Line Podcast.
Cast the Line.
And I explain why it's called Cast the Line
in the monologue.
Excellent. But basically it has to do with me thinking about my creativity as a river or body of water I return to.
Nice.
And I throw my line in the water.
Nice.
And I used to be really concerned with catching something. Early on in my career, whether it was a small fish that I would throw back.
Just enjoying the sunny day, huh?
Yeah, now I just realized that my creativity is not about catching anything. It's just about casting that line.
100%.
It's about
man.
putting it in the
fucking
water.
Love that.
And
that's a great philosophy.
It has nothing to do with the result. It's just the joy of creating.
That's what it is, man.
And I think with that, we'll
You're
wrap
doing
that
it,
up.
bud.
All right. Love
Thanks,
you, Wade.
Inaiah. Love you too, man.